Okay, it's February the 14th, 2011. It's close to 7 o'clock p.m. It's been 12 days that the moon has not showed up here in Toronto. And the 2nd of February was the last time I saw the moon. So this is the first time in 12 days. Okay, I'm at about 15x, 16x, and I'm using a Canon 100mm Canon lens, 80 maximum intelligence zoom 80x, and 20x optical zoom. I'm gonna go to 20x. Okay, I'm exactly at 20x. Okay, I'm at 80x. This is maximum zoom. I'm hand holding the camera. I'm getting EMP pulses off the moon. Every time it blurs like that, those are electromagnetic pulses coming off the moon. There's a lot of white and black orbs. I can even see them separately. They're very large. And there's a whole bunch of small ones, but the large ones are visible easily. I'm going to back off a little bit. Okay, I'm at 39x. The moon is very bright. If you go to lesser zoom than 39x, you don't see any features. So here I am at 63x. I'm hand holding the camera. I'm going to go up to 80. I'm at 80. Okay, see a lot of spherical objects that are off the surface. Black and white. And I see a lot of dark objects. I'll say black, but I don't know if they're black. They look black right now. They're on the surface. And I see smaller white spherical objects around the poles, mostly down on the South Pole. There. Every time I point there, the intensity of light increases, so there's something there that I shouldn't be looking at. There's a big orb, 2 orbs right there, and one down here on this side, lower to the 8 o'clock position. If the squares, the rectangles come out to where I have the camera image graphed in like a Cartesian plane, then the big spheres are going to be in the middle rectangle. But I don't know if that's going to show up. I haven't used that before, so this is the first time we'll see. So if it comes out, it'll be the large spheres in the middle of the moon, in the big, in the middle rectangle. I see lots of objects that are floating. They're not on the surface. Those large spheres are not on the surface, the white ones. And some of the black ones are not on the surface. And then there's a lot of spheres on the surface itself. So I'm just going to hold it here, hoping that some object will fly by, because I've seen objects flying across the face of the moon. I'm getting a lot of feedback and EMP pulses from the moon. It's coming right from the moon. There's a plane moving. It looks like a plane. It moved right over my head. Let's see if it's a plane. Okay, I'm at 80x. Okay, it looks like it is a plane. I can see the tail. I'll check that out later. Maybe it is not a plane. I saw some kind of structure anyway. I thought it was the tail. But that's not happening now. And it's gone real far in a... Wow. It's gone very far in just a few seconds. I'm not sure if that was a plane. It's hard to say. Because right now it looks like it's a bunch of hexahedrons. And it's moving off real fast. I'm still at 80x. I haven't touched the zoom once I set the distance. I'm gonna check the soundtrack later to see if I heard a jet, but it wasn't that loud. It went right over my head. It should have been shaking the whole place, and you know. Should have been a lot louder because it was low. I'll show you how low that is. Okay, so it's only about maybe 2,000 feet. If a big jet went over my head at 2,000 feet, I would have felt it, and I just heard it. So I don't know. I'll have to check that out. Looks like it's making an approach turn, the final, to Toronto Airport. I'm at 80x. It just disappeared. Hold on, I get it back off. Okay, it's gone. I don't know where that one went. Okay, it might not have been a plane. Back to the moon. I'm at 80x. So I'm using a 100mm Canon lens. I can go from 1 to 8. an aperture. Again, it's a 20x optical zoom, 80x intelligent. I'm on the intelligent right now, at maximum 80x. Okay, the spheres have moved. They have moved. The white one in the middle there, and a little bit above the middle, there's two white ones. The black one has moved from below it to very near it. It's changed its position slightly, but it only looks slightly because now everything looks small through the lens. On the moon, that would have been hundreds of kilometers that it has moved over. Both are not on the surface, they're above the surface. Those two black ones right below the one that's with the white one, they're also off the surface, and then there's some more smaller ones, and then there's a few white ones that are large right around the middle of the moon, and they're off the surface as well. There's a lot of craft off surface. I believe those are craft, or some kind of craft. They're spherical. Like I said, this is the first time in 2 weeks almost, in 12 days, that the moon has showed up. And it's been clear before. It wasn't always cloudy, but the moon was not around. And I a few times waited all night for it to show up, and it didn't. So I don't know where it went. So I'm getting a lot of EMPs right there from the bottom, where the clusters are at the bottom there, left corner bottom. There's a lot of EMP pulses, electromagnetic pulses coming right from that area. And also right there on the left side as well, halfway up in the middle. There's a white orb that's on the outside circumference. It's in orbit. It's at 8 o'clock, 8:30 position. That's in orbit. That's not on the surface. There's two right there, large white ones. They're in orbit, in low orbit around the moon. They're not on the surface, but they're not high up. They're a couple of 100 kilometers off the moon. Then there are what looks like a lot of structures. Two look like they have towers. The two right there in the up on top, just below the North Pole. The black two black surfaces there, they look like they have towers. I'll have to look at that on a bigger screen, but it looks like they have towers. There seems to be a lot of structures all over. Those are not natural. They're made by someone. The structure on the bottom, near the South Pole, has white orbs all around it. And there's white orbs, and it's circular. Could be a sphere. I can't tell because it's so bright. There's white orbs all around it. Okay, I'm going to back off now and shoot this constellation. Okay, this is Orion. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, I'm pointing the camera right towards it. Okay, so there's the moon. I'm trying to get everything in. I can't, this is no zoom at all. So there's the moon, and at 4 o'clock is the constellation and Orion and the belt of Orion. If you put a straight line, it's at 4 o'clock, around 4 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock, but I don't know if that will show because I don't have any zoom on, so I'm going to zoom in. I still can't see it. They all just went real dark. They were very bright before, and there's no clouds. Okay, what I'm gonna do is shoot the two that I can see. Okay, these are the Orion points. Okay, I'm gonna prove that this is not Orion. Okay, this is the left side, lower left side, and you can see that that's no star. It's a cluster. What I've been trying to prove is that these clusters are pretending to be a constellation. That happened the other day, but it was kind of cloudy and I couldn't get a clean shot. Now I can get a clean shot, and you can see that this is a cluster. It's not a star at all. So this is the left point of Orion on the bottom, below the belt, as it goes into a triangular shape. On the bottom, this is the left bottom of the triangle. Okay, I'm at 80x. You just saw that thing move off. It was close. Now it's moved back off and went higher. And it's turned from a semi-plasma to a pure plasma state. The way they do that is increase the orbits of the clusters around the main nucleus, which is a cluster itself. There's a few clusters in the nucleus. It works just like an atom. So there's a few clusters in the nucleus, and when the orbits of the clusters around the nucleus increase in speed, it turns to a plasma. And there are different states of plasma that it can take. But what it has done is it's moved up much higher and farther away from me than it was just a second ago. Okay, so that's one point. That's the left side, lower left side of the triangle on the Orion constellation. Now I'm going to go to the right side, and this is the lowest point of the triangle on the right hand side of the Orion constellation. So I gotta back off and find it. That one is higher. Let's see if I can find it with the camera. I can see it with the naked eye, but I don't know if the camera is picking it up. Okay, I have no zoom on. I'm going to try and locate it. Okay, I'm at 18x, 20. I still don't see it. I'm at 80. Okay, I'm having trouble focusing on that one. There it is. Okay. Okay, it's going invisible. I'm right on it, and it should be visible. But what these clusters do is they disassemble or disjoin or subdivide into smaller and smaller particles, and they become totally invisible because the particles can be really small, and sometimes you wouldn't even see it with a microscope, let alone a camera. So I'm going to try again. I'm back to no zoom. I'm going to try and focus in on it. I'm at 31x. I'm not seeing it. Okay, I can't get it because it's every time I get close it goes invisible. I can see it with the naked eye, but it's affecting the camera and the camera can't pick it up. Let me see. Okay, there it is. I have the camera slanted so it's not really comfortable, but anyway, you can see that that's a cluster as well. You see it go invisible? I'm right on it. You see how it goes invisible? Okay, so that was at 80x. I'm going to back off. Yeah, just there it is. Okay, I'm going to try again. This is the right side now, the lower right side, the corner of the triangle, right on the point, Orion. Okay, it's much higher than the other one. It's a cluster. It's no star. I'm shaking because I have the camera sideways and it's really in an uncomfortable position, but that's the only way I can get this in focus, because the thing is working on the camera and affecting the focus. I'm going to try and straighten out the camera and try and get it that way. Hold on. Just give me a second. Okay, there it is. Okay. Okay, so it's come lower. I'm at 80x. You see it disappear? I'm right on it. I'm right on it. I haven't moved at all. It just goes invisible. And that's not a star. Stars don't go invisible. Okay, I'm going to back off. I'm going to try again. Okay, I'm at 80x. It's moved way up. It's twice as far than it was. Okay, so they don't want to be filmed. Those are not stars, and that's not the Orion constellation. All of them are fake. They're all clusters. Here's another plane that went over my head, and I hardly heard it. I hardly heard a jet noise. I hardly heard a jet that went right over my head. That's no plane. Okay, that is not a plane. I see no piece of a plane anywhere. And they don't go invisible like that. I'm right on it. I'm right on this one. I'm not even shaking it. Okay, there's no plane. That went right over my head. It's only about 1,000 feet high off the ground, and it just went invisible. I still have it in sight, but it's not a plane. If anything went over my head like a jet with 4 engines over my head like that, I'm on the 18th floor, and this thing is only 1,000 feet off the ground, so that means I'm halfway up to it already. It would have been shaking the entire building. And jets aren't supposed to fly that low around here. I'm just going to back off a little bit. I'm at 39x just to see the difference. Okay, you can see that that's not a plane. Not at any time could you see a plane. Okay, it's just blurred my whole image. I can see it with my eyes, but I can't see it with the camera. Okay, now it's back. It's sending electromagnetic pulses as well. Okay, I'm back to 80. You can see how far it's moving in a short time and making no sound at all. Jets don't do that, and they don't fly that low right over my head. This is practically the center downtown of Toronto, almost a couple of kilometers from the center. I see no part of a plane. I'm going to check that on a larger screen when looking through the eyepiece. Okay, I don't think that was a plane. I'm going to go back and shoot the moon. No, first I'll go to the cluster that is closer. This is now the left side of the Orion constellation. Okay, I'm at no zoom. There's a building that's 30 stories, so you can judge the angle. It's about 25 stories, the building, plus it has something on top that makes it close to 30 stories, the air conditioning and stuff like that. So it's just under 30 stories, and I'm shooting at about a 30-degree angle. This is shooting towards the southwest, and it's about at I'd say 10-degree northwest angle of the CN Tower, going west. And I'm shooting it southwest because I'm north of it. It's right in the picture, but it goes invisible. You see how it goes invisible? So the Orion constellation is a fraud. There is no Orion constellation. It's only these things. They're pretending to be the Orion constellation. None of the stars in the Orion constellation are real. They're all clusters like that, the hexahedron clusters. I'm at 80x. I'm using a Canon camera, a Canon lens, 100mm, 20x optical zoom, 80x intelligent zoom. I'm at 80x intelligent zoom right now. This is supposed to be the bottom left corner of the Orion constellation, below the belt of the triangle, the point of the triangle on the left side. The side where the bow and arrow should be. That would be the top left side. This is the bottom. Okay, so that is not a star. It is a cluster, and the other one was a cluster as well. So all the what would be stars, you see, it goes invisible and it blacks out the whole camera because it's sending its particles my way. I'm probably covered in all kinds of particles right now because it's checking me out just like I'm filming it. Okay, I have to back off because it's diffused the whole focus, and the only way I can see it is to back off. Okay. Okay, I'm at 25x. Notice the movement. It gets bigger and smaller. Okay, I'm at 25x. Look at the movement, how far it's moving. So this is why it's hard to shoot them at close range. When you zoom in close to them, they move all over the place. And I mean kilometers and kilometers. I don't mean feet or meters. I mean kilometers. For them to travel from that far to here is nothing. It takes 1/100th of a second for that thing to be right here on top of me. So